Visualization, something that's been talked about for centuries and is proven to be one thing that can go out there and help us manifest anything that we want, including more money. But is it true that this one way, this one strategy, this one process of visualization can be tied to helping us not only manifest everything that we want, but help us make more money in the process? In this video, we aim to find out. Hey, my name's Super Sid, the Business Shaman, and I'm one of the co-founders of the Life Coach Launch School. And visualization is something that has been talked about for centuries. But before we break down a specific process that we can use for visualization, let's first define what visualization is and look back to when it really got started. Visualization is often linked to the idea of the mind's eye developed by the Roman statesman Cicero. Cicero's idea describes the ability of the mind to focus and change internal images. Visualization techniques have also been a core practice in Buddhism for over 2,000 years. So now that we know what visualization is, how has it been used, right? And why has it been used to manifest and ultimately be used to do things like make more money, reach our goals, and ultimately manifest anything that we want? And the history is going to tell us that ultimately it's because we are able to create a thought around what it is that we want. When we look at manifestation, which you can go and watch an entire video of us walking and demonstrating manifestation right in front of your eyes here on this channel, or somewhere up there. But ultimately, right, like when we go and we look at wanting to manifest anything that it is that we want, including money, it all usually begins with a thought. So when we look at visualization and what these old civilizations were doing, they were thinking things into existence. They were beginning the process of manifesting something into real life. So if we take this back to what it is that we're talking about in this video, right, can we actually go out there and manifest for more money? Can we go out there and visualize, right, more money and actually go out there and create a reality of it? But based on the history and what manifestation is and how specifically story after story people manifest things that they want, you can see the patterns of how powerful visualization can be, because ultimately it's going to be the core anchor that we are going to use to anchor all of our dreams, everything we want to get, all of our goals, and the actual thing that it is that we want. So now that we know all this stuff about visualization, we know where it came from, what it can do, what is something that people can do where they can go out there and know that it's going to be something that can help them not only visualize what they want, but go out there and get it. And the way that Tiffany and I, and here over at the Life Coach Launch School, really like to iron down this process is doing something that we call a legacy board. Now, there's plenty of ways that we can go out there and visualize. We can draw pictures. We can go out there and journal. People talk about doing I am statements or standing in front of a mirror and talking to themselves. Yeah, I know. But ultimately, right, like there's multiple ways that people will talk about when it comes to visualizing what it is that they want. But ultimately what we're looking to do here is to create a thought of the thing that we are wanting to not only manifest, and in this case it could be money. So if we are wanting to go out there and visualize, right, something, we believe that this legacy board concept that we're going to go over with you all today is going to be something that's going to help, right, anybody visualize goals that they want to achieve, things they want to manifest, and walk into that reality. So let's rock and roll. Ooh, this is going to be a lot of fun. Let's do it. So when it comes to this legacy board, ultimately what we're looking to do is we're looking to basically go out there for the next year and identify goals and things that we want to reach, and then put them on our legacy board so that we can be focused on making sure that we reach them. Now, there's a specific process that we want to go out there and that we want to follow when creating our legacy board, but let's first talk about what we're going to need. The only thing we're going to need to create our legacy board, very, very simple, is going to be pieces of paper. So 24 pieces of paper. These can be lined pieces of paper from a notebook. These can be blank pieces of paper like the one I have, this computer paper, but very, very simple. Just get 24 pieces of paper. And then also what we're going to want, and we like to use markers, pens, Sharpies, whatever it is that you have. Now, Tiff and I actually like to use different colors. We might label something a specific color when it comes to the specific goal that we're wanting to reach, or if it's tied to money, or if it's tied to family, or whatever it might be. So those are the things that we're going to need. Now, first things we're going to want to do is we're going to lay everything out on the table. What is the things that we are going to want to achieve when it comes to this year? So we're wanting to go in there and set some goals. Right now, we might not know exactly everything that we can achieve. We might not know if everything that we want to achieve is possible in the next year. We might not know all the steps to get there. But ultimately, our process here is we're going to want to go and write down all of the things that we're going to want to achieve. So when I'm looking to go and I'm looking to list out my goals, I actually do it completely separate of the 24 pieces of paper that I was talking to you about. Usually I'll just go in there and grab a simple notebook. As you can see, this is just a really small notebook. But what it allows for me to do is when I'm laying everything out on the table like I was talking about before, it allows me just to write out and kind of brainstorm without it being really connected to like this project, right? I can just sort of write out freely and brainstorm without me feeling like it's going to get in the way of what I'm wanting to create and build and showcase, right? So what I do when I'm going and I'm looking to write down my bigger goals is, again, we're not looking to write down like little items that can be done in one or two things, right? These are big goals that we're wanting multiple things to stack up on throughout the year, right? And multiple accomplishments to stack up on throughout the year that's going to help us propel, right, to reaching a bigger goal. So usually these are going to be tied to health, wealth, or relationships. And like I was talking to you about, when I'm writing down my goals, I'll look at that. My relationship with my son as a father, my relationship with my wife, Tiffany, as a husband, right? I look at wealth in regards to like the amount of money that our business is bringing in, but also ultimately how we're using that money to go out there and create other streams of income. I might also look at like the assets that we own or the things that we have, you know, asset-wise that we're able to use or leverage. I'll also look at, when it comes to health, is ultimately like getting me to a spot of being optimal health. Now that we have Chad and we have a child, one of the big things that Tiffany and I are really honing in on is making sure that we are on this earth as long as possible and making sure that we're optimizing our health as much as possible to get to spend as much time with Chad, right, as we can, our son Chad, as much as we can. So when I'm breaking down these larger goals, a lot of what I'm doing is I'm finding out what are the big goals or the big things that I'm going to want around those things, because when I get those things right, usually that's going to be one of the keys or a major key in me wanting to get the bigger thing, which is usually the main goal that we have in life, whether it's tied to money, right, freedom, whatever it might be. Ultimately getting those basically surface desires, surface goals right is going to help us go out there and reach the bigger goal. Now that we have everything written down and the goals that we want to achieve, right? Now these goals can be around not just business, but they can be around, you know, our life in general, our family, our relationships, but anything like that. Now typically when Tiff and I like to look at this is we look at three specific things around the goals that we want to achieve, right? And there's three specific things that we'll look at. These things are what we call our three core markets in our business, but it also relates to the things that we want to achieve as well. And those are going to be health, wealth, and relationships. Where do we want to be in our health? Where do we want to be in our wealth? And where do we want to be in the relationships that are around us? If we look at our entire life and all the goals or all the things that we want to achieve, usually, and it's 99.99999% of the time, right, what we want to achieve is going to fall in regards to one of those categories. So like I was showing you there before, right, when it has different markers on what we're wanting to achieve, we might use different colors to identify what specific goal or what specific thing that it might fall underneath when it comes to those three core things that we are wanting to go out there and make sure that we put goals around here on this vision board. All right, so now that we have all the things that we want to achieve, the next thing that we want to do is we want to start laying out the 24 pieces of paper and the things that we want to do. We also want to identify in this process the bigger goals, right? The big goals that might take us the entire year to achieve, and we want to know exactly what those are so that we can start organizing this and working on it from back to front. Right? So the first thing we want to do is identify goals that might take us a year to achieve, or the ones that we see that are way out there. Now, again, we talk about not knowing the entire way to possibly get to a specific goal, but that's the magic in this. And I just want you to bear with me on how we specifically do this. And I promise you it's going to work out for you, even if you don't know every single step. All right. So the next thing we want to do is, like I said, identify those bigger goals that we are wanting to achieve. Now, a big thing that Tiff and I have realized is ultimately it doesn't matter what goal or what accomplishment or what we classify as story of achievement that it is that we achieve, it usually is going to take multiple achievements to get there. Multiple steps, multiple wins, multiple things that we are going to do right to get there. Very rarely do we just make one decision or do one specific thing and it helps us reach a goal. Very rarely. Very rarely going to happen for anybody else that is out there in the world, or will it very rarely happen for you? Ultimately, there's going to be multiple things that are going to line up, which is going to help us manifest what it is that we want. Now, we talk about manifestation a lot on this channel, and one of the big things I like to tell people and remind people about is in the position that we're in right now, right? It was manifested. It was manifested whether we wanted to manifest it or we didn't want to manifest it, whether it was done consciously or subconsciously. We manifested that. And again, that ties back into this vision board, starting to do things on purpose, right? This legacy board is forcing us to focus on the things that we need to accomplish, doing it on purpose, and ultimately identifying the goals that we want to get done with this year and going out there and getting them. So let's find out the big goals that we want to achieve, and let's go out there and start getting these pieces of paper out and getting them ready, because now we're going to go into that next step. All right, so we've identified the big goals we want to achieve. We understand how this legacy board is going to help us with achieving these goals. Now what we want to do is we want to start labeling our pieces of paper. So we have all 24 pieces of paper, and you might have guessed it already, but 12 of these are going to be the months of over the next year. So 12 months, and then the other 12 pieces of paper are going to be labeling those months with the specific month that it is. Now the way we're going to build this and the way we're going to do this is we're going to line up 6 pieces of paper by 4. So 6 wide, 4 tall, and ultimately we're going to have half of the next year on the top, and we're going to have half of the 6 months to 12 months down at the bottom. And ultimately what we want to do is we want to build out this legacy board beginning to work backwards. So we identified those big goals. What I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and write those bigger goals. They are 12 months down the line, and go ahead and write them as you accomplishing those goals here in the next 12 months. All right, so now that we have written on like 12 months down the line of what it is that we are going to want to get, now what we want to do is we want to start working backwards, right, on this legacy board. So I was talking about earlier about how rarely do goals that we reach ever are going to be, right, things that we make in just a decision. And in this specific piece of land that I'm sitting on right now, the 92 acres of land that we live on here in the Great Smoky Mountains, right on the edge of the Great Smoky Mountain National Park, all began with a thought nearly a year and a half ago. And ultimately there was a series of items that we needed to do to get to this goal. And it was on our legacy board. We put it up there for the 12 months, right, that we wanted to achieve it. But ultimately every single month that we counted back, there were things that we needed to do. And a very easy way of looking at this is, obviously to get here, right, the first thing we had to do, the last thing that we did to move here was we had to get a U-Haul and move all of our stuff here. Before we had to do that, we had to find out where it is that we wanted to live. Before we did that, when I say find out where it is that we wanted to live, we had to find out in the specific area. And then before that, we had to find the specific area, like in the state. And then before that, we actually had to choose which state we were going to move to. And then in all of that, we had to go back and forth, right, multiple times to identify the specific piece of land that we wanted, the specific place we wanted to move to. Where do we want to live with a 1-year-old, like and a recent child that we just had. All of these things came into play. And ultimately, those multiple of those decisions are all what led up to us being able to move here. But just because we had a thought and made a decision on wanting to come out here and make this happen, we ultimately needed to go out and put things and use a vision board, use our legacy board, right, to go out there and basically make sure that we were focusing on the next item that we needed to do to be able to make this happen. And that's exactly what this legacy board is going to help you with as well. So as you're going through and you're literally just reverse engineering all of the things that we want to do here on this legacy board, and we're going from month 12 to month 11 to month 10, right, we're going to start seeing that maybe some of these bigger goals we think we can actually reach in 6 months, right? And that maybe we're thinking too small. Or maybe you're sitting there and you're like, oh my gosh, this is taking forever, and right? I want you to understand that, especially the first time that Tiffany and I did a legacy board, it actually took us days. It actually took us 2 to 3 days to accomplish this, because we were sitting there, actually, to be honest with you, overthinking the process. And ultimately, what I want you all to think about here is, right, we don't have to know every little thing that we are going to do. A lot of what this legacy board is it's going to be painting the picture of what it is that we want to achieve over the next year, so that when we look at this legacy board and it's like, hey, right, it's October, or it's whatever month. In October, my goal is to do these 8 things, whatever 8 things are there. Then we're only focused on those 8 things. We're not focused on the bigger goal. We're not focused on things that are out of our control. We're only focused on making sure that we hit these 8 things. And if we hit these 8 things, we take a step forward to reaching the bigger goal. And ultimately, by being able to only hyper-focus on the things that we want to have, and then not only that, have this board stare at us every single day when we walk by it, when we see it, when we wake up, whatever it might be, ultimately, it is literally ingraining in us, this is what we need to focus on on, stop letting distractions or external distractions get in our way, and ultimately go out there and achieve what it is you wrote on this board, and what it is that's going to help you walk into, right, being the person that lives with these goals that's written on that board. All right, so we have our legacy board. Now we got, what do we do with it, right? We've worked through the 12 months. We know exactly what it is that we want to achieve, the big goals that we have. We've identified, right, smaller goals along the process, or, other milestones that we need to reach to then reach this bigger goal. Now what it is that, where do we put this thing? What do we do with it? But before I go over exactly where Tiff and I like to put our legacy board, I want to remind you to subscribe to this channel. Every single day we're putting out multiple videos to go out there and help people heal, to go out there and help people begin the process of being able to take their personal power back and ultimately go out there and manifest anything and everything that it is that they want. Ultimately helping less assholes be in the world and helping the world become a better place. Don't forget, let's dare to heal so we can dare to lead and ultimately dare to make an impact. If that sounds like you, make sure to subscribe to this channel. Tiff and I get asked all the time what it is that we do with our legacy board. Like, we get done, we build it, like it's on the dining room table, or it's, I'll be honest with you, it's usually on the floor. And when we have it all laid out, and we've kind of went back and forth, and usually there's stuff scribbled out, like there's all these things. But one of the things that we really like to do is we like to have our legacy boards really stare us in the face. We literally like to have it look at us when we go to bed, like when we're waking up in the morning. We like to pass by it multiple times a day. And a big kind of secret to this is when we were talking about using like the bigger pieces of paper, right? Like our 8x11 pieces of paper, or notebook paper, or computer paper. These are big, 24 right of those is a big piece of space, and there's a lot of real estate on a wall. So for us, it's something that consistently grinds into us every day, reminds us of what to focus on. A big lesson that both of us, and I believe a lot of people, have had to learn here in this modern world, is that the external distractions are always going to be there. They're always going to be out there, right? It doesn't matter what day it is. It doesn't matter what time of day it is. There's always going to be external distractions. So the number one thing that we aim to focus on is the internal things that we can control, and ultimately allowing those internal things that we can control to help us step into our personal power as often as we can. And we use this legacy board to kind of play as a map to helping us focus on the things that is going to help us become the person that we want to become, grab our personal power, take our personal power back, and ultimately go out there and manifest anything and everything that we want. And this legacy board has been a huge help to doing that for me and Tiffany, for a lot of our students. And my thought is I bet if you go out there and you do a legacy board and you put out all of your goals that you want to achieve over the next year, and you stare at it every single day, and it stares at you when you go to bed, and it stares at you when you wake up, and you read that stuff every single day that you're going to get done every single month, every single step toward reaching the bigger goals that you have, my guess for you is not only you'll reach those goals, but like Tiffany and I have constantly done when it comes to these legacy boards, you'll usually reach those goals a lot faster. Again, if you like this video and you're looking to go out there and step more into your personal power and be more and start manifesting things that you never thought were even imaginable in your life, make sure to subscribe to this channel. It's what it's all about. Let's dare to heal so we can dare to lead and ultimately dare to make an impact. I'm Super Sid, the Business Shaman with the Life Coach Launch School. We'll see you in the next video.